What up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're out in the garage today. We're gonna do a backyard poor boy stock bottom end sloppy rebuild on a Gen 3 5.3 that we picked up from a previous customer that had me build an engine, and this was the one that he had, and it was not in good shape. All the lifters were bad in it, and it had some oil starvation issues where it chewed up some rocker arms and some push rod. We're gonna get this thing apart. We're gonna clean it up. We've got some Amazon parts we're gonna throw in this thing. I think I'm gonna put this thing up for sale on Marketplace. We're gonna get this thing completely tore apart, get it outside, get a pressure wash. So sit back, relax, watch the video, and maybe you'll learn something. All right, so we got a box in the mail today for our little budget 5.3 build that we're gonna sell and try and make some money on, because we don't make a lot of money building engines here at the house. So I ordered some pieces. I've already opened it, as you can tell here. It came with 4 lifter trays and 16 lifters, and it actually came with this. I don't know what this is for. Anyways, they actually come packaged like a BTR lifter or something, but honestly, like aesthetically from the exterior, like they don't look terrible. I'm gonna open this up and see. Let's see, I think I've got a lifter here. This is my little lifter soaking thing here. I need to change the oil out. I think I got a lifter in here somewhere. I thought I did, I guess I don't. Maybe it's in one of the boxes. Okay, so here I've got some like name brand LS7 lifters here. And then I've got these here. These would be like your standard Elgin replacement lifter. I don't have any numbers or nothing like that on them, but you can tell the finish on them is a little different. So we'll pull them out and look at them here in just a second. And then these are like a BTR lifter, which is basically Elgin. But these actually have like a number on the side of them. And normally you'll see, like if you pull certain people's lifters out of their boxes, they all have like a similar number on them because they all came from like the same plant. But there's only a handful, probably less than a handful of lifter manufacturers in the country. But yeah, let's open one of these up and do a little comparison here. All right, so we got our little Amazon LS7 lifters in here, setting and soaking. So I'm gonna set those aside, and we'll get those out on a later date. We're gonna let them soak before we put them in this motor. So probably let them set at least 24 hours or so, and then we'll come back and we'll get them tossed in these lifter trays. And these lifter trays, they've got OEM numbers on them, but these are not an OEM lifter tray. I can kind of tell by the way they're made, like the material, but they look really close to an OEM lifter tray, and the lifters actually snap into them, so that's good. But anyways, we'll let those soak and we'll put those in the motor whenever we get around to getting it cleaned up and getting it ready to assemble. My cam kit showed up. It was late and delayed and all this stuff, and as you can tell, the box had been cut open and then they've retaped over it. Let's see how messed up this is. I struggle with Amazon. I swear I've got to be the worst luck with Amazon. It'll probably get sent back anyways. I'm sure these springs are junk. Seals look like trash. Push rods aren't even in the box they're supposed to be in. They're supposed to be in here. They fell out. But I doubt this is even what I need it to be. So this will probably get returned. But nothing appears to be damaged, so that's good. The cam's not falling out of the box. And here's the camshaft. It's got some kind of number on the back of it. SN4, whatever that means. But I guess we'll measure it and see what it measures. All right, guys, so we got the block washed. Got our bearings set up in here. Start measuring for bearing clearance. Got some new cam bearings in it. And then we got it painted up and set our head studs in there. We got the crank out getting polished and washed right now. We'll get it in there, get it measured and everything. Make sure main bearings and stuff are good. We've got our new camshaft, our Amazon BTR's truck Norris cam. We got it right here. and it came with new push rods and valve springs and stuff. So we're gonna test it out on here, and we will end up putting this on the run stand when we get done assembling this thing. Honestly, overall, like, the cam actually looks pretty decent. You can tell it's been heat treated and stuff. And I went ahead and measured it with calipers and stuff and did the math, and it does come back with similar specs to a BTR truck Norris cam for, you know, budget friendly stuff. Hopefully this will work out for us. And I've got a new oil pump. I'll have new gaskets, head gaskets, oil pan. I got new oil pan and stuff to put on it. I've got a pretty good set of cylinder heads we're going to toss on it that are really clean. Pop the springs and seals out on those, get those cleaned up, start putting this thing together, and then we'll go ahead and toss it on the run stand, see what it sounds like, check the oil pressure and all that stuff, and then we'll go ahead and put this thing up on Marketplace and see if we can get it sold. Got our crank back, got it all polished, looking good, cleaned, ultrasonic, and then we're gonna give it a quick measure here, make sure all the bearing clearances and stuff are good, make sure all the journal sizes are good, and then we'll have a spec sheet with this engine as well. And we got the main caps and everything cleaned up, got the bearings and everything installed. We'll get the crank set down in it. We're still waiting on a cam bearing set. And normally I would do the cam bearings first, but I've got 3 of them in. I just got to put 2 more in. I had a little mishap with a couple bearings and come up short on a couple, so we'll get those in and we can start getting this thing put together. And we still got to go through the cylinder heads. So anyways, let's get all this measured, get it all put in the engine here, and we'll get it going. Got all the ring gaps and everything set. I kind of set this thing up where gaps were a little bit bigger than normal. It's going to be good for a little bit of boost if somebody wants to add boost to it later, and it still should be good for NA form. It's basically set up to make probably 600, 650 horsepower, and you'd probably be all right, with the exception the camshaft's probably a little too small for that. But we got that put together. I've got covers and stuff in the washout in the shop, and I've got 1 cylinder head put together. I think I'm going to dig out my head gaskets, and I might go ahead and go get this 1 head torqued on, and I've still got to go back out and clean up the other cylinder head, get the valve springs and stuff swapped out. But it's getting late tonight. It's probably 11:30, 12 o'clock right now, but I do want to get these heads on this thing, and I need to get some rocker arms and rocker stands put in the wash and get those cleaned up. And then I've still got to do valve covers and stuff. I need to get those cleaned up as well. I'm probably going to paint the front cover, so I probably need to get that painted tonight. That way it's dry tomorrow when I go to put it on the motor and whatnot. So still got a few things to do, but like I said, I do want to get these heads put on and torqued down before tomorrow. That way I can get the ball rolling tomorrow pretty early. And I've got some other stuff to do, so I'm hoping I can get all this other stuff done and still have time to get this thing buttoned up and put on the run stand and fired up. So anyway, so we're out in the shop here, and we're cleaning up these last 4 ring packs for the last 4 pistons we got to throw on this motor, and we're working on cleaning up the cylinder heads. Like I said, we've got a set of fresh-ish cylinder heads here. They actually look like they've been gone through before, as you can tell. The inside of these things are pretty clean, and we're putting new valve seals. These are the old valve springs here, and then we've got our new valve springs here as well. And here's the old stock valve spring on the left, and here's the new Amazon valve spring on the right. I wish I had a set of Pac 1218s I could set beside them, because supposedly these are, they say these are like 560 lift springs, but that's a pretty substantial spring difference. You know, when you look at an OEM spring like this one, you know, there's a lot of texture to the coil. You know, maybe whatever it makes, you know, whatever material they're made out of, they actually have kind of a texture to them, where these are kind of smooth. So just because it looks taller and bigger doesn't mean it's going to be better. But we're going to try them. They came with the cam kit. I've had pretty good luck with the anything VEVOR brand, but we are, like I said, we're putting the seals in it, and then we're going to put these springs in it, and then we'll get these rest of the way cleaned up. And once we get the other 4 rods and pistons in, I've already got head studs on it. I've got head gaskets and stuff for it. So then we should be able to go ahead and get these heads torqued down and get these things put on that motor. And once we get these put on, all I've got left to do after that is put an oil pump on it, windage tray, pickup tube, and the oil pan. And we should be able to put it on the run stand and hopefully fire it up. Anyways, I'm gonna get these heads cleaned up, get these put together, and we'll work on trying to get this, the rest of the long block put together. So sit back and let's get to it. Well, we got the heads and everything torqued on. All looks pretty good. We still got covers to get clean, new seals to put in, new gaskets to get, and then we've got the oil pan and window tray and pickup tube and stuff to put on still. And then we'll get this thing strapped to the run stand and fire this thing up, take some video and all that stuff, and we'll try and get this thing posted. Well, we got it all dressed and everything, and she's pretty well buttoned up. I got to put a balancer on it, and then I've got to go through and paint marker the front cover bolts. And then as far as the rear cover bolts go, I got a few of them torqued. I've actually got to wait until I pull the motor up off this stand, and I can torque the rest of them, and then we'll get it put down on the run stand. And we are actually going to fire this thing up today. I got a filter on it. I got to go get the oil out of the car, fill it up with oil, and then put all my sensors and stuff on it. And we'll roll it out to the other shop and get it loaded up on the run stand. We got the engine all buttoned up on the run stand here. We got it full of oil. Plugs are in it, coils are on it, everything's bolted down. As of right now, I've got the coils unplugged. I'm gonna crank on this thing for just a little bit. My battery might end up being dead too, but I'm gonna crank on this thing for a little bit, try and get some oil circulating and stuff in it. And then we'll let it charge up for a minute on the battery charger, and then we'll come back at it and try and fire this thing up, see what it sounds like, see what the lifters, see what they sound like since they're a cheap LS7 style lifter. Hopefully we got good oil pressure. We got a new Melling 295 pump in it. So just a recap on this engine, this motor came to me as a core. I was gonna rebuild for a customer and he didn't want to put that much money into it. I ended up selling him a reman motor. Came from my old job that I worked at where we reman engines. A buddy of mine was gonna use it for a swap, decided not to, and just decided to sell it. So he sold it just cheap enough that the guy wanted to go ahead and go that route instead of rebuilding this one. So I took this one in as exchange to cover the cost of me doing a cam swap and lifters and then putting the motor on the stand and getting it running for him. And so I went ahead and decided to go through and do what he was gonna do to this engine, and we're gonna put this thing up for sale. As soon as we get this running, we'll put it on Marketplace and it will be available for somebody to purchase. Top to bottom, this thing, we took the bottom end apart. It had a bunch of issues with lifters and all that stuff, rocker arms. So I put another set of rocker arms, 7/480 wall push rods in it to replace the ones that were messed up. We've got a set of 241 heads here that I got from my buddy Brad at work. These have been sitting on the shelf. He basically 241s are kind of obsolete. A lot of people want 799s, 243s. These are old LS1 style heads. One thing I noticed about these heads, it looked like they'd been gone through before. They were super clean. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna use these on this motor instead of the set of 706s. So I cleaned these up. Put new valve seals, new valve springs, as you saw earlier in the video. We put some budget pack 1218s in it and got those in with new valve seals, cleaned up the decks. We've got new Molly gaskets, head gaskets, Felpro front and rear cover gasket, new seals, new oil pan gaskets, got a new oil pan on it. We put a truck Norris cam in it. It's just a budget truck Norris, like stage 2 truck cam or something. We got off of Amazon. And then new lifter trays, new cam bearings, and all that stuff. So a lot of new parts in this thing. We didn't have to do any machine work. We went through, checked all the ring gaps. All the ring gaps are good and set now. And basically if somebody wanted to buy this thing, put it in turnkey, run it NA, it would be good for that. And if for some reason they wanted to boost it, they could do that too. The rings are already gapped for probably
I'd say probably 600-700 horsepower. We went 25 on the top ring, 29 on the second ring. The cam's probably not ideal for boost, but like some people say, every cam's a boost cam. Ideally, I would probably put a little bit different cam in if I was gonna boost it, but we've got head studs and everything in this motor too. So NA, boosted, it doesn't matter. Gen 3, 5.3, this thing would make the power. Let's get some oil primed up in this thing, fire it up and see what it sounds like. All right, let's hit it. Might take a second. Good battery voltage. Not bad. 33 pounds, 34 pounds at idle. Does kind of sound like there's a miss. Either this cam's nasty or we got a cylinder that's not firing. So I'm gonna get the infrared out here and just kind of check some temps here real quick. 150, 120, 150, 120. 160, 160, 150, 160. No? They all seem to be up to temp. Lifters are a little noisy, I will say that. Just a little. We got to put our Y pipe on this thing. What am I doing? That's why it sounds so different. And I've got my new headers and I've got some piping and stuff. That way we can do our exhaust like I wanted to do and whatnot. I just got to find some time when I get back from Italy to see if we can whip up the exhaust and stuff and get all this cleaned up, and then hopefully it'll help us from not burning up plug wires. Lifters actually quieted up a lot that time. We're gonna let it sit for a little bit. I don't know what the head temperature is. Head temp? Yeah, see what the head temperature is. Block's only like 90 degrees. Head's about 80, 90 degrees. I don't normally let them run real long since we ain't got water hooked up to them. Sounds pretty good. As you saw there, we got the motor fired up, got it running. Everything sounded good. The couple times that we started it, the Amazon LS7 lifters seemed pretty quiet. I was really surprised. We had great oil pressure. Motor had like 35 pounds of oil pressure at idle. We revved it up a couple times and ended up going up to about 50. So we know our bearing clearances and stuff are spot on. So super pleased with how this little budget engine has turned out. The Amazon truck Norris cam, not real sure how that's gonna pan out. Sounds good. It's got a nice little chop to it. Idle's really nice. Since the oil pressures seems to be pretty good, the Melling oil pump seems to be doing its job. We did just put a standard volume M295 Melling pump in this thing. So it's doing its thing. Obviously the bearing clearances and stuff are good. Everything measured somewhere between like 1 thou and 2/10 to basically, well, pretty much measured from 1 thou to 1 thou and 2/10 were the clearance on rod bearings, main bearings. The only thing we changed differently that we would normally do is to get bearing clearances on the Gen 3 motors for cam bearings. To get the clearance you want, I actually run 2 sets of bearings in this thing. So the cam bore is not the same on Gen 3 and Gen 4 blocks. And there's actually some variations in there where some of them actually have like weird bearing sizes. I ran across that in my old job, where sometimes you would buy a Gen 4 bearing set of cam bearings and some of them wouldn't fit, some of them would. And then you had to kind of mix and match and actually measure the bores to figure out what bearing you had to put in the motor. But most generally you have one set of bearings for Gen 3 and you have another set of bearings for Gen 4. A lot of Gen 4 stuff's a wide bearing, where Gen 3s are a narrow bearing. One thing I like to do is I like to run 1 under cam bearings in all my Gen 4 stuff. It's not really an option for Gen 3. Gen 3, from the history I have with building engines, everything I've seen from manufacturers, there's not really a 1 under cam bearing for Gen 3 stuff. But what you can do is you can actually split a Gen 4 bearing set and put some of those bearings in a Gen 3. You can take your 2 and 4 bearing out of a Gen 4 and actually put them in 1 and 5 on most of your Gen 3 stuff. Now that's not going to be all of them, because some Gen 3, later model Gen 3s, most all the ones with the short studs, that was right when they were transitioning from the dual stud style or dual length bolts, because you had like a short and a long on your Gen 3 stuff. Once they started phasing to the Gen 4 blocks, they started casting some of the Gen 3s with all the same length bolts for the head bolts. Everything I've seen, if you've got the short bolts for the head studs in your Gen 3 block, it will take Gen 4 cam bearings. With that being said, this one was not that way, so I actually had to take 2 bearing sets, and I took my Gen 4 bearings. I took the number 2 and the number 4 bearing out of it because they're wide, and I run the 1 under bearings to make up some clearance, and I put them on the 1 and 5 cam bores, and then I run the center bearing because all the center bearings are the same as far as bore diameter of the block. So you can run the wide bearing in the center. The only 2 that you can't use, or you can't do that with and use a wide bearing, is 2 and 4 on your early Gen 3 blocks. So I run the 1 unders on the outboard bores and the center bore, and then you have to run the narrow bearings on 2 and 4. But that does help tighten everything up, because GM, which a lot of people always say, don't look at your bearings, don't look at the cam bearings because you'll have to replace them, whatever. A lot of people frown on that because you'll actually see wear marks in the bearing. Well, that's not necessarily the engine's fault, or that there's a failure issue, whether it be oiling issues or what. GM actually installs the bearing and then has the bearings honed to size before they put a cam in it. That way they run 1 bearing all the way through, and then they can just hone it and they get it to where they want, because each bore, I say 1 bearing, 1 type of bearing, because each bore is different. 1 and 5 are the same outside diameter, 2 and 4, same outside diameter, and number 3 is its own bore diameter for that. So, but that's how GM does it. And like I said, normally if you look and you see that, obviously, don't quote me on it, but if you do have excessive wear, that's a thing. But generally most people see it and that's what they think, that it's a wear issue, but it's not. I've gotten brand new blocks from GM and you can actually see the material inside of it. It looks like the bearings are wore out, but it's just because they honed the bearing to size. So it just is what it is. But we've got new bearings, cam bearings. We put Engine Tech 1 under cam bearings in most of these. We've got OEM bearings, rods and mains, miscellaneous Felpro gaskets, front and rear covers, front and rear seal, oil pan, and then we've got Molle head gaskets on it. We did put head studs in this motor, so this motor should be good to go for anybody that wants to buy it, use it in something, whether it be NA or boost or whatever, it doesn't matter. Super happy with this thing, and I can't wait to sell it, get somebody to put it in a project, let them go out and beat and thrash on it, and have a good little motor in their project. Anyways, we'll fire this thing up one last time. You can check out the digital display again, check out the oil pressure and all this stuff. I think that's gonna do it for today's video, guys. I appreciate everybody following along. Thanks for watching, guys. Keep following along, comment, like, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.